Everyone, what's up, and welcome to the very first episode of Tilted Talk. My name is Dave Troop, aka Trooper. I am your host for this show for the foreseeable future, and my co-host is also named Trooper, funnily enough. Tyler.
How did that happen?
We might have
Brothers
planned
from
that.
another mother, man. There's only the universe somehow brought us together in some way or another, and it just so happened to be here. So I'm really happy to be here, man. I'm really excited to do this.
Yeah, man, me too. This is going to be a lot of fun. So basically, guys, this is the very first ever episode of this show, and we're just going to be talking Fortnite. We'll be talking, patch notes, the competitive side of things, pretty much everything Fortnite related that you can think of, we'll cover in this show. We also will have, at the end of every show, a quick fan interaction section. So send us your tweets on Twitter if you have questions, put them in the chat. We will be looking at them and we will answer some of the best questions that we get over the course of the week and live during the show in the last 10 15 minutes or so that we're live. So let's get right into it. Starting off, there's been a lot of changes. Season 8 came out a week ago, and that completely changed the map. So the northeast quadrant is completely different. Rest in peace, Wailing Woods.
Yeah, I mean, not only Wailing Woods, my first ever spot. The first ever spot that I landed in Fortnite was the shipping containers. It was an unmarked location. My thought in my mind when I was first landing was, I don't want to land someplace that had a name. And then as I'm getting towards Retail Row, I see, oh, this spot looks low key, a little bit off to the north here, and landed there my first time ever. And I was like, oh, look at all the wood here. This is amazing. It's not like I ever thought. No, there's no way I thought that because at the time nobody even knew building was a thing. So, but my spot's covered in lava now, and your spot has a giant volcano, and now the Sunny Steps, I believe, is the new one. The new temple that's there, which is actually pretty awesome.
Yeah,
I really like that. My first thought when I landed there, it reminded me of like what you would play like a free for all, like deathmatch, like an arena type shooter on. Like that's the perfect, like if they enclose that off and just you played Fortnite in that area, it seemed like it would just be its own type of like multiplayer map itself.
Yeah, definitely. The only thing that a little frustrates me a little bit about that spot, Sunny Steps, is how hard it is to build there because there's so many different things that kind of like prevent you from building properly. Yeah. But just to touch on your point about building at the start of the game, I mean, I remember me and my friends would play and we would just harvest resources all game so we could build the biggest fort possible because, we were taking the game really seriously in terms of the name of the game, or literally, I should say, instead of seriously.
Every time you saw the trailers, there was that massive fort with three giant bay windows, and it's like, oh, man, nobody ever does that anymore, man. It's just such a shame.
And now it's all one by ones. I kind of miss the old days of the massive trailers. Those things were fun. I was a big fan of that.
Yeah, I always looked forward to them too, because they also brought in they bring in all the lore now, like the story, like that goes into the actual game. Like it's one of the first multiplayer type games, like where the story's been so woven into the actual game itself, like instead of where a normal campaign would be. It's actually pretty interesting the way that they've handled it, and I think a lot of games are thinking of maybe trying to try similar things. It's it's all about like innovation, and they've definitely proven that, especially in different areas like that, and how frequently they're able to update the game as well.
Yeah, definitely. I mean,
they're raising the bar.
Oh yeah, Fortnite has completely changed the game, so to speak, in terms of game development. Like the way they obviously kind of took after Riot Games' model of free to play, buy the cosmetic items, and because of that, it's not unfair for people who spend money. Like you don't get any inherent advantage, but I feel like it's been so successful. They've done so many things right that it's just given them such a gigantic audience because you can come in for free. And then if you really like the game, you're like, oh, okay, I'll spend $10. I'll spend $20 here. I mean, a game costs like $70, $80 these days. So you kind of feel like you have that allowance of money to spend on cosmetic items without feeling bad about yourself. Once you get up to like 200, you might start to question things a little bit, but hey, if you like the game, that's how they're able to constantly implement those changes by people spending money. So I think it's a really, really good system.
I agree, man. They've set the bar because with now so many AAA games are starting to come out that are free to play. It's starting to be the thing where everybody's now making the money off in-game cosmetics and stuff like that. We, like you were saying, games used to be 60. Sometimes like the most you would see at GameStop for like a brand new game was like $64.99. Remember when they would first come out? And then that, man, I started thinking, man, were they going to go like 70 or higher? But now it's like, nah, they're all going to be free now. And there's going to be an entirely different business model around it. And it's working perfectly.
Yeah, definitely. So yeah, Sunny Steps is the newest place in place of Wailing Woods. It kind of reminds me of Tomato Temple a little bit too, just the way they designed the whole thing and all the fire
Yeah,
and stuff. I'm a big
it's like
fan.
Tomato Temple got a nice coat of paint.
Yeah, yeah.
Nice little construction done to it. Man, they really did my boy dirty. They took his name off the map. He's not even the temple's there. A lot of people don't even think, oh, it's gone now, but it's just covered in more shrubbery and it does not have a name anymore. So it's right off to I think right off the left of the volcano that you would see on the map now. But still there, you could still make your way there, but I doubt it's you might, now that it's going to be more of a low key spot, it might be my new spot now.
Yeah, maybe. So which one do you prefer, Lazy Lagoon or Sunny Steps? Because we haven't talked about Lazy Lagoon yet, but obviously Lazy Links disappeared too. That was a much newer spot on the map. Wailing Woods had been there since day one. So
Sure.
for a lot of people, Wailing Woods disappearing hit them a little bit closer to home. They had more time, more good memories there, or bad memories, depending on how much you die.
I prefer the Lagoon 100%. Just, I mean, Lazy Links was great, but I've been waiting for a few seasons where I've been thinking of how Fortnite's what direction they've been going, and I've been waiting. I'm like, any season now they're going to be introducing a pirate theme. And they finally did, and it's perfect with the beach setting and there's ironically a ton of loot at the location as well.
Yeah, I mean that does make sense, right? If there was a pirate part of the map that didn't have a bunch of loot, you'd be like, man, these were some crappy pirates.
Exactly. Right. Exactly. And now speaking of which, now they introduced the new mechanics just in the patch yesterday morning, where now there's a treasure map that you can find, which is like a legendary item in the game, and it'll lead you to a hidden or a buried treasure chest. It takes actually longer to open, about 3 times as long as a regular chest. And then there's actually, I think, up to 3 or 4 legendary items that you'll find in the chest. I ended up finding a chug jug, a gold scar when I ended up using it. I ended up playing around and found one today. It's actually really interesting. You can't see the location of where the buried treasure chest is going to be unless you actually have the map equipped. So if you have it in your inventory, you can always switch to it. And then as long as you have the general direction, you can kind of head there. Big X for the loot. You have to use your pickaxe to dig to it. And if you don't have the map out, you won't even be able to see it. And you can't hear the chest either through the ground. So there's a lot of, you definitely have the advantage if you have one of those maps for sure.
No, it puts up like a big gold like beacon too. If you're kind of close enough to it, you can see like gold light.
There's an audio cue as well. Yeah.
Yeah. So
makes it really helpful. As long as you can kind of finesse everybody on your way there, you're going to make out like a bandit. Seriously.
Yeah. No pun intended, I'm guessing. You kind of just have to balance between having the map out so that you can navigate your way there and switching to guns. Otherwise, like you said, someone's going to see you running with that map out and you're going to make yourself a really prime target really quickly. But yeah, I found some great gold guns in mine too. And the fact that you found a gold scar, something they actually did at the very start of season 8, so about a week ago now, is they actually changed the ratio of the assault rifle rarities in terms of how much when you find an assault rifle. So there's the same total number of assault rifles on the map, but the chances that you're going to find a gold one is only like 1.1% now, whereas it used to be 1.8%. And grays have gone up, greens have gone up, and all like blue, purple, and gold have gone down. And obviously, those purple and gold scars are the OP guns in Fortnite. They always have been. They're so accurate. They do so much damage. So being able to find one of those from a treasure map is super, super useful.
Yeah, I'm assuming that's now going to be your best bet, is either going for the supply drops that now show up on the map, or try to get one through a treasure chest. Because if you do find one in a chest, your chances are through the roof already. You pretty much might as well expect to get into the top 10 at that point, because you already have such an advantage over everybody else now, especially with the tweaks to how they're dishing out the ARs. And speaking of which, everybody was kind of getting a little antsy about how often they were finding infantry rifles. And, obviously when they introduce a new weapon in Fortnite, they like to have people use it a lot so that they can at least get some data from it, how long it's being used, if people enjoy it or not, really. They want people to test it out for the most part, beyond what they do at Epic. And a lot of people were getting sick of finding it this week, regardless of what they thought of it or not. It was getting to the point where people were finding it in almost every one of their first chests. And people thought they were trolling this week because they only reduced it about 1%, from 14.41% to 13.39%. So
Yeah, that's
now you're gonna pretty much find one in now not your first chest, but your second chest. So I mean, it's a little bit of change now. It's a little bit, but I mean, and they also changed it a little bit from the floor loot, which is not much either. It's 2.41% to 2.24%. So it's like the smallest of tweaks. I mean, I don't know how much it'll affect the game itself, but I played two or three games, and I honestly only did find it once. So that could be saying something because I was finding it almost every game. So that does tell you a lot. So I mean, it might be a little bit more than we think in terms of how much it's going to affect the game.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I'm always a fan of small tweaks because when you're talking about hundreds of games with 100 players in them, it's so easy to, just tweak a number by a tiny amount and actually see that be a massive difference. And I think also there's a bit of confirmation bias going into when you think like, oh, I really don't like this item and I'm finding it every game. I mean, you're probably not. You're probably still only finding it 13% of the time. It's just, you know what I mean? When you don't like it, when those stand out more to you in your mind. So that does happen a little bit. But it is good to see them that they're tweaking some of these things and really trying to listen to what the community is saying, and trying to tweak items based on that. The assault rifles are still very, very strong. I don't think that's ever really going to change unless they completely change the way assault rifles work, which would, I don't think, be a good idea. But they do have a new sound now. I think pretty much all the guns have a different sound when you shoot them, right?
For the most part, yeah, the ARs definitely caught me off guard
Yeah.
when I started shooting them after the first time they updated the sound last week. And yeah, I at first I thought it was a little bit too loud, but they did actually tweak it a little bit now in this recent update. So it is a little bit more, a little bit lower, so it doesn't overwhelm a little bit in gunfights, which is good because obviously when you're fighting, and then sometimes if there's a third party, there could be 3 or 4 ARs going off at once. So, and then thank God that they. Sidebar, thank God that they vaulted the bottle rockets because then you would also have them going off in the distance. And yeah, a lot of people were just complaining about too much noise pollution, basically. Like that was on top of a lot of the audio issues that people were kind of having with just tracking people in terms of sound and footsteps. That on top of all the new noise pollution was really getting to people. So I'm glad to see that they're going forward and taking the right steps and making the changes that need to be done to at least listen to the community and try to help out with that. Because from what I heard, I did just from testing out the few games today, it does sound a little bit cleaner from the last few games I played a few days ago. It was a little crazy just from trying to deal with everything that's going on. And there was actually one instance when I was streaming. I should have actually clipped it now that I'm thinking about it, but there was I was actually in a box that I just built looking ahead to a guy that I saw in the distance, and then a guy hopped into my box from next to me and then just one-pumped me, and I was caught. His feet landed inside the actual base, and I was really confused. I ended up going back, and he just ran up on me, and I didn't hear him, so really confused at that. But that was last week, and it's always going to be a new one this week. So luckily they made some changes. It's going to be a good one.
Yeah, definitely. I think the fact that they took the Stormwing out too is really helpful because those were just so loud and honestly very, very annoying.
Man, everybody loved the Stormwings though, man.
I was not a fan. Well,
everyone loved them though, man.
I disagree with those people. I mean, they can love them all they want. Maybe there should be a mode that's like a vaulted mode or like a different, like kind of like a troller mode, I guess. But just to kind of touch on what you were saying about the noise, it's like they were so loud, and then when you added in some of the other things, I mean, both you and I come from a competitive shooter background. We might specialize in slightly different titles, but we're all over the FPS map. And when you think about that, I don't think there's an FPS game or gamer that doesn't abuse sound to really get information, right? It's so helpful in every game. And the fact that Fortnite was a little bit difficult to do that in, the easier it is now. I think that's the more competitive and the better quality gameplay overall, the easier it is for people to transition into the game and out of the game when they want to. It just makes a lot of sense. So,
yeah, I mean, because they introduced the planes in season 7, and right away people were really it was a really polarizing reaction, and a lot of the people, the main problem was you could originally just crash through builds with them. Once they took that out, people still didn't want them because people were kind of abusing them for, just really random rotations, kind of abusing them by just kind of circling the map and not really fighting until as late as possible. And then obviously there was the problem with the gun on the front that a lot of people were complaining about too. So people wanted that removed and everything. So Honestly, with all the complaints, the countless complaints about it, I think they made the right move by just vaulting it all together. Just let it live and die in season 7. Maybe they'll bring it back in the future. Obviously, they have an opportunity to do that with anything after making some tweaks. But in the past, we haven't seen that happen too often. And I honestly, I wouldn't expect them to bring them back just because of the negative reaction. And also, they have so many new methods of rotation now, especially with now you also have the hoverboards that were introduced. So those
awesome.
things.
Those I
that's
like.
That's the one thing that I've definitely learned playing games over the years, especially any type of game, especially if it's an open world, a campaign game, or even an online game such as a battle royale. If the game is fun to traverse in, if it's fun to travel, like if they make fun ways for you to actually get around the map, and it's not just a giant running simulator, you're bound to have more players just bound to stick with it and be more entertaining. And that's straight up facts. Just because I know for a fact when I tried to play PUBG, it was a great game when it came out because it was so new. But I fell in love with Fortnite a little bit more just because it drew me in with a little bit more of condensed than the map was, how people played it, and how the fights felt a little bit tighter, a little bit quicker. While you felt way more spaced out in another battle royale game such as PUBG, and it felt a lot slower. Now with Fortnite Season 8, fast forward to this, all these methods of rotations, and now with the volcanic, those volcanic air, I don't even know what they are.
The air vents,
the volcanic vents.
Yeah,
that they ended up adding to the map too. There's so many methods of rotations now. So the third parties, fourth parties, and even fifth parties are going to be coming in hot, just like always, man.
Well, I think that's so good for the game because I remember when Fortnite first came out, there was a couple times where I'd realize like the first circle was on the opposite, like diametrically opposite me on the map, and I'd be like, "Do you guys just want to quit out and start a new game? Because otherwise, we're gonna have to do like running marathon simulator, as you called it, you know?"
Really?
Now that there's so many ways to move around, like you've alluded to, it's just so much more fun. And speaking of new ways to move around,
like back in those days when you had like no methods of rotation, like or of actual travel besides your feet, or a launch pad, they were like, here's shopping carts. And everyone's like, whoa, we can actually go faster now. Thank God. Like,
definitely.
It's so crazy how far the game's come.
Yeah, it's come such a long way in such a short amount of time. And it actually makes it so much more fun because you can pick battles now. Before you would hear a fight and you would be like, oh, we have to run away because we need to get to the next circle. Now you can actually engage that fight people further away and be confident that you can still move with the circle or with the storm. So that's really, really helpful, I think. And overall, like these are really positive changes. And the newest method that they've introduced is the cannonball.
How can I forget about that?
We almost forgot to touch on the cannons, which are awesome. You can shoot yourself. There's actually a couple hilarious clips. We might have one for you guys later of people shooting themselves out of a cannon and overshooting the map. They actually shoot you pretty far. It's pretty surprising. And if you just shoot a cannonball out of them, they do decent damage. It's like 100 damage direct, 50 damage to a small AoE area of effect.
I mean, to be able to actually hit somebody directly with them, I mean, good luck. But I did see a clip. The day that they came out, I saw a clip where somebody in squads shot and luckily hit somebody in Lazy Lagoon and direct hit and downed him. And man, it's the different types of plays now that you can make with something like that and being able to actually crash into the builds and infiltrate that way. It's going to make for a lot of interesting plays. I'm actually really curious to see how the top level players are going to start utilizing it.
Yeah, me too. I mean, they're so good at utilizing almost everything that gets incorporated into the game, whether it be on their streams for fun or even in tournaments sometimes. You see some people pull off some crazy stuff. So definitely I can echo that statement. It'll be a lot of fun to watch people use those cannonballs and see whether they get used more for movement or if people actually do try to do damage. I think they're going to be great for structures, demolishing structures and stuff like that. Somebody's, trying to build the Taj Mahal in front of you, so to speak. And then if you have a cannon around, you can shoot a cannonball at them and kind of destroy that whole thing.
Yeah, that's going to be, in terms of like, instead of firing a projectile, you are now the projectile. So you have to be all in when you go full sail into somebody else's builds. You got to remember like, oh crap, now what? You have to remember.
Better have your shotgun ready.
It's gonna make for a lot of aggressive plays. I can't wait to see more clips from that.
Yeah, me neither. I mean, that's the beautiful thing about 2019, right? You just have clips on YouTube for days. Even people who aren't big streamers and can just put up a clip, and if that's what people are searching for, they can get hundreds of thousands of hits. So it's really, really cool to see. I guess the other really big change that we haven't talked about yet is the ping system that got added in.
Yeah, huge addition.
I think it's amazing.
Yeah, a lot of people obviously are going to instantly be like, oh, where did they get that idea? Because with everybody playing Apex Legends, one of the biggest features that people were talking about in that game was the ping system and how intuitive that was, and how you could communicate with people that don't have headsets or that are in party, and stuff like that. So it really, being able to introduce that now into Fortnite. You could say if they were working on it for a long time or this or that, but either way, it came at a perfect timing. And whether or not they rushed it to get it out at the similar time that once Apex came out, it ended up working anyway, because I've seen nothing but great feedback from that, because that was one of the biggest problems with a lot of people that would fill with their squads was you didn't have a mic or anything like that. Most people nowadays, let's be honest, it's unfortunate, but most people on Xbox, even if they do have a mic, you don't have people always talking in the public lobbies. You know, with party chat functions now and everything, that's normally what you're going to be in. So it's rare that you get that instance where you'll have a random party of people that are all communicating. So the ping system is going to be awesome for everybody, especially in terms of that, to help not only for casual players, but competitive players too, where now they don't have to be as specific with call outs, especially if they have to call out where there's an enemy or where there's materials or an additional item that they want to drop, for example.
Well, yeah, that's the biggest thing for me that stood out in my mind was, like, again, we both come from different competitive shooter backgrounds. We met at the Halo Classic. Think about the specificity.
Don't listen to that. Just check the shirt out. Don't listen to that. Just check the shirt out.
Yeah,
gotta rock the Halo Classic, man.
All of the guys who were calling out, communicating, how specific they were with their call outs, it was almost impossible to do that in Fortnite, because you could give a degree or something, but if the person, your teammate, was at a different place, it was hard to really tell them exactly where they were. Yep. Now you can just ping them, and everybody sees that red mark, and everybody knows exactly where. So, he's to our right, over that hill. Ping, and like, oh, okay, that's exactly where he is. It makes it so much easier, and I think it's really going to elevate the top tier gameplay. I think you're really going to see a lot more people at that level really using it, and it's going to make it's going to make it a lot harder for people to be sneaky beavers and get away unsighted, unseen. People are going to know they're there, and their whole team is going to know exactly their position, so they're going to be able to cover multiple, like, runaway points, I guess, or escape routes. So I think it's a really, really great system. But as you mentioned, people are wondering, where did they get that idea from? And obviously, it was most likely Apex. It came out very closely after. So I think that kind of moves us nicely into our next topic, which is the Battle Royale competition, essentially. Fortnite obviously wasn't the first. There was H1Z1, PUBG, then Fortnite came out, became massive, really blew it up. Then you saw CSGO release their own. Call of Duty, the latest one, has its blackout mode. But Apex has really kind of been the first game that I think a lot of people were like, wow, this is real competition for Fortnite. So I guess the first question I want to ask you is, this Battle Royale competition among titles, rather, inside the genre, is it a good thing or is it a bad thing, and why?
Well, competition for any type of industry is always going to be good. Everyone's going to have to try and outdo each other and try to be the best and innovate as much as they can. And that's what you're seeing with Apex Legends. The best thing about that is that dropped out of nowhere. And now Apex Legends almost trying to set the bar now with how future released, how games are going to be released in the future. You got to wonder now, with the way that the hype train goes with a lot of games, in the gaming industry, everything's big on the hype. So you have to be able to market things and promote them properly, and you'll see that at a lot of the conventions like E3, things like that. But when a lot of things, gameplay or cinematics or whatever, are released for games that are coming out in the future, then everybody goes online, they dissect everything. There's YouTube videos and people reviewing stuff and talking about it on Reddit and different forums and stuff like that. And everybody is kind of, making their own assumptions and trying to pick apart what they can. It's like when you watch a movie trailer and you try to figure out what the plot is. It's the same thing with this. But now people, as the game comes out, they're going to be like deciding, oh, why are they going to put that in the game? I don't like that, or I don't like this, and already kind of making assumptions or making decisions based on the game, and they haven't even tried it yet. Apex dropped the game out of nowhere, so then people had no choice but to just play it and try it for themselves with absolutely nothing to go on. And I figured that with that strategy, it was bound to succeed, just because people, a new game is always good, and the game was pretty polished as well. So that's always a plus too, especially right out of the gate. A lot of people were just really surprised, I think, and that's really what welcomed the such a positive response too.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I think you hit the nail on the head there is that a lot of, trailers can be amazing and hype can be generated, but sometimes the game is really hard to live up. When you hype something up so much, it can be a great game. But if it's hyped to the moon and back, I mean, I don't know how you build something that lives up to that hype, right? If they had gone
Yeah.
on some year-long marketing campaign or something, that might not have worked. But because they kind of did a guerrilla marketing style, it was really successful. And it kind of does remind me of Fortnite too, because Fortnite came out and it was originally like the PvP mode was what they were pushing, right? I mean the PvE mode, sorry, is what they were pushing, and that was what they were trying
Yeah.
to use to make money. And the PvP was just like some free thing that they kind of implemented, and the PvP just took off. It just became super popular. Everyone loved to play it. It was a lot of fun. Um,
Yeah, and
so it's
I
interesting to
think
see
they
the
were
different
working.
styles.
I think they were working on Fortnite since about I think 2014, 2015. So it's extremely that the PvE form of the game, this Save the World version, is actually extremely polished. So that's when they figured out, let's release this free to play mode where it had pretty much a very, very stripped down version of the main game. And it worked because they had so many of those things in the main game already that worked. So putting just, a small fraction of them, it was going to bring a lot of hype. And now they also have almost an unlimited, amount of weapons and items that they can choose to introduce or not based on, what's in the main game or stuff, whether they do that or make things that are brand new to battle royale themselves.
Yeah, exactly. And it's interesting to see how much Epic has shifted their focus into the battle royale, right? So as this become more popular, they've realized, oh my God, we created a cultural phenomenon. Like, when was the last time? I don't know. Do you watch the NBA
A little bit. I can't.
or like
I'm more of
or
those people
even
that
the
are like, oh,
NHL?
I watch the playoffs. Yeah,
Oh,
NHL and NBA are like
okay.
there's really hype moments that I watch in the playoffs for the most part.
But
I wish I had cable. That's my biggest problem.
The point I was going to make was that if sometimes they go to crowd shots in between, like, during timeouts or whistles or something. The amount of 8-year-olds you see doing Fortnite dances is mind blowing. Like, it's
No.
difficult to comprehend how much of a cultural phenomenon Fortnite has made itself through these like dances and all the cool stuff that they've added into the game over time. So that focus they put on the PvP aspect of it has really paid off. I hope that people are playing the PvE too, because they obviously put a lot of time into that at first. But it just goes to show you sometimes if you just tweak an idea just a little bit, you can have enormous success, right? So it's
Yeah,
really cool to see that they've been focusing on what the community has really, really responded well to.
you really did nail it right there with just by mentioning you see people at NBA games doing Fortnite dances. Just by calling them Fortnite dances, that shows the influence that the game has had because
Oh
a lot
yeah.
of the dances come from other places and a lot of people know them. They
Mhm.
became 10 times more popular through Fortnite. That was the vehicle for everybody else to really get them and know them and try to actually play everybody playing the game so much as that was bound to happen and everybody doing that out in public. So it's really taking over in the craziest way, especially like at
Yeah.
right now though, where the game's at with now season 8 and how they're getting pretty much as many players as they've gotten in the entirety of the game. And now they figured it's a good time to try and release a battle pass where you can actually earn by in-game challenges, which I really, really loved because I've always loved the idea of trying to earn stuff just from unlocking it, just from playing the game and doing different
Right.
things, rather than trying to pay for it. So that was one of the best things I think Fortnite's done, especially in recent memory, just by giving the opportunity to do that. Even
Yeah.
one time, I think is amazing,
Yeah.
amazing for them.
Definitely. And it's cool because I mean, I checked those challenges out. Like, you actually had to kind of grind those out. So I think it was a really good
Yeah,
way to reward some of their players that maybe don't have the financial resources available to throw a little bit of money onto the game and kind of give them a reward like, hey, if you're really going to play our game this much over the next week and a half period, we want to thank you. And it was just, I really like the way Epic approaches everything, to be honest. I think that
yeah,
their approach to the community and how they kind of deal with it and really help try to do things for the community. It really, they're putting the game and the community first, and then they figure, well, if we do these two things correctly, we will have a healthy bank account at the end of it, right? Which
yeah.
is not necessarily the approach you see all businesses or all even game companies take today. So I think the fact that Epic is doing that is a big part of the reason why they are so successful. Um, do you think that the community is going to split? Not necessarily yeah, even maybe the Fortnite community. Now that there's so much competition, do you think that we're going to get a more reduced core of really hardcore Fortnite fans, or do you think it's still going to continue to be the biggest battle royale game out there?
Well, everybody eventually tends to, go to the biggest game that's out there. And right now, I mean, Fortnite's still totally up there as one of the biggest games right now that's out. So whether or not, that tends to go on, into season 9, 10, 11, 12, however long they go, maybe Fortnite 2. I don't know. Like, imagine like where the actual ceiling is for that. But for them, I picture the way that this game is. This is going to be a game like you see Counter-Strike or a game like League of Legends, where this game has the tenure to actually be there for a long time, where they could just keep updating the game in its current state, maybe introduce new maps. And also, you could see how they're introducing new ways to play competitively, like with the new tournaments and everything like that. They actually introduced the gauntlet events now, solos and duos, which is really crazy. The way that they're now trying to test things with the different scoring methods, because now a lot of the times that people are trying and get as many points as they can, or try to get as many games in the time limit as they could in the playlist. And what people would end up doing is just hot dropping as soon as the bus goes, trying to get as many kills as they can. And then whether they die or wipe out their first landing location, sometimes they'll just quit. Instead of rotating, they'll just go right into another game and try to keep getting kills that way instead of wasting time rotating. And a lot of the times, players would do that, abuse that. So now they introduced you lose 2 points essentially every time you join a game now in the playlist. It's called a bus fare. So now whatever your points are in the entirety of the playlist, you're going to lose 2 every game you join. So now that's going to give players more of an incentive to play it out, to extend the game and try more points. I kind of like the idea. I see where they're going with that. See how that's going to affect the game type, but honestly, I don't think it will affect it too much, because a lot of the times I think you would see players do that hot drop trick more when they were running out of time. So really, I think it's just going to affect people in the final half hour, whether they choose to stay in like their last game or not. It's just really going to affect that, which actually might be a good thing, because you have people that are going to want to try to get into maybe their last game, and then you have a ton of players hot dropping, dying, all trying to queue up at the same time, and then the queue takes maybe a minute or 2 longer than normal. So that would affect things in the long run. So, I'm actually kind of excited to see like where that actually plays out, because they haven't tried anything like that so far in any of the pop-up cups or any of the tournaments that they've run.
Yeah, I really do like just to echo what you're saying, the experimental aspect of what they're doing, though, because it really tells me, I mean, it's very clear still that Battle Royale as an esport genre is still trying to figure out the best competitive settings, right? It's not, I mean, even though we all feel like Fortnite's just been around forever because of how ingrained it is into the culture, it really has only taken off in the last year and a bit in terms of Battle Royales, right? I mean, obviously H1Z1 and PUBG have been out for a couple of years longer, but they were nowhere near the same level of popularity. And I don't think any developer has truly found the magic touch of this is how you run a Battle Royale tournament perfectly. And online, with, as you mentioned, with the hot drops and all this stuff, there's even more challenges to it, right? When it's just get a certain number of points in this period of time. There's a whole lot of complexity there. So I applaud Epic for, again, having the humility to realize like, hey, we need to listen to the community and figure out what's working, what's not, constantly be tweaking things. We don't have all the answers yet, but that's okay, because we're going to figure this out eventually, especially with all of the community's input and the millions of people that are playing this game and competing and trying to be the best. It's really, really cool to see. And I have faith that if I was to put my money on one company to actually come up with the perfect formula for Battle Royale that eventually every single other Battle Royale game copies for competitive tournaments, it would be Fortnite, and with Epic at the head of it, just because of how willing they've been to test things out and how responsive they are in general to what is going on and what the community is telling them.
Well, they're definitely trying to get things perfected for the World Cup that's coming up this summer. So they're still trying. I think they're pretty close to what they want to do in terms of how they want the point system laid out and everything. They're testing things based on a lot of the international events and different things that they've been running. So the skirmishes and the Winter Royale and everything like that. But they're getting. I'd say, especially with this new addition, that especially with the points based on how these players are going to join in, it makes me wonder like what kind of things they're going to do if they're going to introduce anything different in the World Cup. Like one of the things that they introduced in a few tournaments ago, I don't remember exactly which one, but adding in a Storm Surge, where players just kind of turtle up and try to get to the end game without really fighting anybody, try to avoid fights. Essentially, you now have that where you're forced to do damage on players in the game on the server, or else you're going to get struck by the storm and take damage yourself. So there's all these little things that they're doing to try and not essentially control the meta, but bring out the best features or the best things about battle royale. Essentially, is
Right.
everybody fighting, getting that position, and keeping up the game and keeping up the fast paced action. Essentially, is what they're looking for.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you definitely don't want people having to traverse the whole map and it being very slow. That doesn't make for a very good spectator experience. So you definitely want everybody fighting and, like you said, very fast-paced, action-packed combat scenarios where, and really to allow that to happen. And I think that's why they've added so many of the mobility items we were talking about earlier and the ways to move around the map, so that you don't have to so often choose between dying to the storm and combat. You can enter that combat and feel safe that you're going to get to the next circle in time and not die out. And also just as a way to, when you realize you're super far away from everybody, you can just kind of fly over to where the battle's happening, or, to another area of the map and see if maybe you have better luck there and finding some opponents to try and, take out and grab their loot and stuff. But you did mention the upcoming season for the 2019 World Cup. That almost brings us to our next category. I think the first thing we should do is talk about the Katowice rundown. Give our viewers, a Katowice rundown from the tournament that just happened. Just happened not long ago. It was like last weekend? Weekend, right? Yeah. Okay. Days are blending together for me now, man. It's a mess.
It's a pain, I know.
It really can be sometimes. The drearies of getting old.
Especially just with so many esports out there. There's so much going on that if you're trying to follow everything, it's just hard. Like, man, there's a lot of the time you're like, oh wow, that was going on this week. Like, there's a lot of stuff to keep track of at this point now.
Yeah, I feel like almost like how politicians or news anchors must feel, where you're just constantly trying to absorb so much information, but at least all my information is fun because it's gaming related. So it's
got a jack into the matrix, just get it all uploaded like that.
Oh, sometimes I wish I had that pill from Limitless. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly.
That would really, really help. But to touch on Katowice, so day one was Friday. It was a 3-day event. The international event, rather, was 3 days. So the very first day we had Vinny, who just got signed to TSM the day before the tournament, I believe. And he actually managed to come out and win the whole solo event. And the coolest thing about that to me is that shows you that there's still so many players out there that might not have a name. Nobody might know who they are. They might still be building that reputation up, and they are absolute monsters. And as, a caster, just a fan of high-level esports in general, that is the coolest thing, because it's kind of a drag going to a tournament and being like, well, we know this guy's going to win, so this is all a waste of time. Like, there's been games and there's been teams like that are so dominant that you just kind of know, well, I mean, this is kind of it's mostly a show match for these guys to just dust everybody. But with Fortnite, there's always a new name, always new players rising to the top, and it makes it so much more interesting.
Yeah, that a lot of the times that people really question that, they're saying, oh, it's hard to have consistent top players. But I mean, if you look at the duo side of the Katowice tournament, you have Zayat and actually Saf from Ghost. They ended up winning 2 back-to-back games. So, I mean, if you want to talk consistency, that's it right there. I mean, they're able to get into late game how many times in the event and then also win 2 games in a row. There's so many players that can actually prove their consistency and how well that they're able to handle those late game situations. So, a lot of people say that, it's too hard to really gauge a lot of the top players. But at this stage of the game, you're really seeing a lot of those, basically the strongest survive, essentially. You're seeing a lot of those players start to really come out. Like, the cream always rises to the top, as they say. And that's really what you're starting to see at this level of the Fortnite esports scene.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, Saf and Zeit. I'm probably pronouncing those names wrong.
I think it's Zeit.
Zeit. Yeah. I hope it is. He's Canadian, so I would feel really bad if I, disrespected my brother like that by not being able to say his name properly.
I thought then you would have known it right away. I was asking for help then.
I think it's Zeit, but I could be wrong. It's kind of a weird spelling, man. I don't know where that comes from. But the one thing that I thought was really cool is that they're on different teams. Like, Saf is sponsored by Ghost and Zeit is with NRG, and both organizations were like, sure, team up. We'll have this like duo org kind of team. And then the fact that, like you said, they dominated so hard. I mean, they were up by so much. I think they finished the event with 831 points. The second place team was 620.
Wow. Oh my
Like,
God. They throttled everybody in that event.
yeah.
They're just from winning those back-to-back games. They not only did they win those back-to-back games, they were high kill games. They went into both of those end games with pretty much the top high ground going into both of those last circles. So they were playing both of those games perfectly, almost as well as you could play them. And the way that they were racking up so many kills at the end, and then I don't recall if it was the first or the second game that they won.
Mhm.
I think it was the first one that they won, in that back-to-back game stretch,
Yep.
where there was them and one other team left, and then I want to say it was Ghost, or it was Ghost Saf that ended up using a Rift to go, bringing him and the two members of the other team up into the air with him to actually come back down from the Rift in the sky, while it left Zayat on the ground to actually try and heal up, and gave them enough time. They weren't able to land on the ground. They were getting eaten up by the storm, and they got taken out. It was such a high IQ play. I loved being able to see something like that. Saving the Rift to go that late in the game, and then being able to use it on the offensive was something so mind-blowing. And it's crazy to see something at that level of the game. And that's how you know that these players are a different caliber than everybody else.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, they definitely proved that over the course of the entire weekend. And I mean, I think you even mentioned there was a point where they knew in like the second last game or something like that, there was a point they were so far ahead that they just built a fort on the top of a mountain, just overlooking everybody, and just did the take the L dance, just basically telling everybody, like, we've already won this tournament. There's nothing you can do about it.
Yeah, I think Zayat
did
that.
Feel?
He stood on top of a cone and just to take the L for like 7 or 8 seconds, just overlooking 60 other players on the server. It was amazing.
I mean,
just knew they had it in the bag at that point. I love it.
Yeah, and just to do that, even when you have it in the bag, I mean, just to not make it close. Like, they finished so far ahead, like 33% ahead at an invitation event where a lot of every player was sponsored pretty much. It was some of the best players in the world, a lot of names you recognize. I mean, so Myth, who's, one of the more infamous, I would say, players in all of Fortnite, known for being an incredible builder, he came in 24th out of 50 duos. Like, these were really, really good players. And Zaf and Sight were able to put, I really hope I'm saying those names right, guys. I'm really, really hope so. But that duo was able to get so far ahead. It's just unbelievable. And that just tells me, like, I'm super excited to see them together. I hope one of those orgs tries to sign the other player so that they can remain a duo, or that both orgs continue to be cool with the two of them just kind of teaming together. Because honestly, I don't think I've ever seen that before in any esport that I can recall, where two people were on a team that were actually sponsored by different teams and working together like that. So big shout out to Ghost and to NRG Gaming for just allowing their players to, team up with somebody that they wanted to team up with, and not necessarily represented by their org, and not trying to get into a whole contract thing, and having that be a really cool moment for esports in general. It was kind of like two teams coming together, and the two is better than one thing. Because both of those players are absolutely phenomenal individually, and you can see it in, I believe one of them I believe Zeit got like 7th or something in the solo on Friday.
Yeah, you're right. Yep.
So the two of them together were just unreal, and that shows you like that chemistry that they had. I really hope we get to see them play more often, because like you were talking about that high IQ play with the Rift and everything, they clearly know how to work together as well. So I just want to see more of these guys play. And I really hope we do get to see kind of like a new duo. These guys emerge as the new duo to beat, and, the kings of Fortnite, at least for now.
Yeah. I mean, right now, this is, everyone's going to be looking at the most recent event. So that they're the kings at the moment, especially going into, now in springtime, we have to see what lies ahead in terms of qualifying for that World Cup. So everybody now that's preparing and trying to get ready for that. I think everyone's kind of on edge, just trying to see exactly what's going to be in store. And right now, the best thing to do is just play at this point. Just keep grinding, and and right now everybody's in that zone, and just watching VOD from all these players, like trying to watch as many other players as possible, watching how they work, and just trying to pick things up like that, just trying to get a little bit from everything or from everybody. That's one of the best ways to try and optimize your game.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, you can always learn. You learn from watching, right? That's why every game evolves over time. You see other people do things, and you get way better. There was some controversy with the event, though. Let's talk about Nick Merckx here for a second. He made a tweet. I think we're going to be able to pull that up for you. So I'll read this out for you guys. The last game, Fortnite crashes on my computer, and parentheses there. They didn't remake it. A bunch of people actually quit out of that game too. I think 6 to 8 people left the game just assuming there was going to be a remake, and they still didn't remake it. There was a bug with the quad driver thing. I'm not sure.
The quad crusher bug that I kept hearing about.
There was server lag where you couldn't build or glide. Headshots that destroy your ears via static shock. This wasn't the greatest experience. Nevertheless, GG's, excited to get back home. Now, both of us have worked back end. We both done, events. We know how much insanity there is in setting up a 4v4 tournament, for example, where teams of 4 and there's only 8 people on a server at a time. I can't even imagine the production nightmare that goes into setting up at a 100-player lobby, especially with the production they had. I mean, they had an augmented reality screen. Like, they had all sorts of absolutely insane stuff going on. So I don't even want to know what the kind of nightmares they were dealing with.
And if you're from Gears, imagine if they had curved monitors to deal with too. Could you imagine? There's no way. No, it's done. It's a wrap. Yeah, no, I feel honestly though, I feel terrible for Nick Merckx because somebody in Nick Merckx level. This is something that I was actually thinking about a lot today. After reading that tweet, seeing what he had to go through at the event, a lot of those issues that really explains why him and Aiden finished so low on the charts, on the duos at the actual event. So, they did have a lot of issues that they had to combat against, not just in game, but one of the things that I was thinking about so much was you look at a guy like Nick Merckx, it's no argument that he is one of the top streamers on Twitch, especially one of the top Fortnite streamers. Easy top 5. And I'm trying to wrap my head around now. You see him go to this event halfway across the world into Poland, and the tournaments run according to a lot of these players, ran pretty poorly, and just based on their experience. And now you have a guy like, say, Tfue, a guy like Cloaksy, who I believe were invited to go and they chose not to. And a guy like Tfue right now, I believe he has 70,000 subs now on Twitch. So they were actually now estimating the time that it takes for them to be away, to travel, to go to the event. And then if they're lucky enough to even place in the money, they would actually be still losing money if they didn't just stay home and just do their normal thing and stream. Yeah. So that's now a lot of that's a big thing that a lot of these big streamers are starting to think about, because everybody does want to see these big streamers. They want to see the best players, the biggest personalities compete and try to see who is the best. But a lot of these players, like even Ninja, for example, you got to believe like he's turned down probably countless things just because it's not worth turning the stream off for a few days. Even at that level, it's actually really crazy now that you have to take that into account, that the prize pool's not big enough, so we're not going to go compete. Like that's actually insane to think about.
Yeah, because I mean, esports was always driven by the prize pools. Like that's where most of these players made their living. It's really only been in the past couple of years that people have made such ridiculous amounts of money, because it's not even like a prize pool can be small. I mean, that duo won 80 grand, 40 grand each. Like that's some people's whole annual salary. That's not chump change by any stretch of the imagination. But Twitch careers can be volatile. It's not guaranteed that because you're a huge star on Twitch today, you will be in 30 years. Twitch has already seen the fall of many a streamer that were once big names. Like Phantom Lord is one name that comes to my mind immediately. He did some shady stuff, but again, when you spend all this time on camera, there's a very good chance that something is going to go wrong. So yeah, it's a very good point that you bring up, that it's very difficult for some of these guys to justify taking the time off and going, because people are also very fickle. They immediately move. If you're not online for 3 or 4 days, they'll just switch their sub over. They'll switch their viewership over. Maybe they'll find another streamer. They might like them more than you, right? They might go, oh, I actually enjoy this guy's personality a little bit more than I enjoyed that other guy that I was watching. I'd never given him a chance because I was watching A, B, or C. But now I'm going to stick on this stream for the most part. And you can lose permanent viewership that way. So it's a real concern for a lot of these guys. And I think that's why, just kind of segueing here perfectly, actually, so thank you for setting this up so beautifully, into the 2019 World Cup, we have the biggest prize pool for a single event ever in esports history. I think they're giving away $100 million over the course of the season.
Yep.
Let that sink in, folks. 9 figures worth of prize money for playing video games. When your parents told you that video games were not the thing you should be focusing on, they lied. And they lied bad.
100%.
Um,
They
so
lied
this,
to your face.
yeah, they really did. I mean, granted, most of them probably didn't lie maliciously. They just actually were completely wrong. They didn't know how big. I mean, honestly, even if you'd asked me 5 years ago, is there going to be an esports tournament with $100 million on the line over the
Oh,
course of the season? I would have been like, yeah, in 100 years maybe, when
I
$100 million is like 10 today or something. Not now, but it's just blown up so much, and they're giving away $1 million every single week online. Online, you can make $1 million sitting at home.
exactly.
Help me with this, Tyler. My
that
mind is blown.
so all right, the prize pool being that much and everybody being able to compete now, that's really where that's what you got to love to see, that they're making it accessible for everybody, and we were just talking about Katowice and having to go all the way to Poland. Obviously you don't have to do that now to get involved. You can qualify for these events just from sitting at home, and that's what they did. That's what they did with a lot of these pop-up cups too. They got a lot of the best online players, and they kind of sorted them out that way, and got the best like 1% of the players in the world basically. And now with all of this money on the line and how much that they're just kind of raising the bar for all these other esports right now, yeah, it changes a lot of the focus where these players they're definitely going to be now focusing more on Fortnite rather than other games, because they might be going say where the money is essentially. But I think a lot of the viewership right now is also big into Fortnite too, because it's always got that hype, like the trailers, the big the lore that we were talking about in the game and everything. It's always got that feel to it, and especially with all these in-game skins and everything. Fortnite, they were able to make $2 billion. Was it $2 or $3 billion last year just on the skin sales, and they're using such a small minuscule amount of that to $100 million, so tiny, throwing that into esports and helping the competitive nature of the game. And it's funny because I'm thinking how much money they made on the skins, and it being a free game might also, obviously it being free does affect a lot of that. But I think about games like, say, I think it's Dota, when they actually do kind of what is it? The players, they actually buy loot cases and things like that to raise extra money for the prize pool for the international. And I think the one season, I remember they raised like 12 to 15 million extra dollars for the prize pool, which is insane to think about. But I also think that they're doing that over a condensed short span of time. Now, think about like opening the door for that, how much they can increase the prize pool for esports. Fortnite, obviously they saw the potential for that and they did it. They're reinvesting right now, and with the competitive nature of the game, something else that I also noticed that I think is brilliant too, that I love that they do, is that in all the events, all the tournaments, it's smart too and fair that everybody has a random skin, I think, on the server, like pretty much for the most part. In all these competitive tournaments, especially if it's an epic sponsored tournament, you have a random skin. Sucks if you're stuck with like the tomato head, you know what I mean? You get kind of out in the open. But it's also, you got to think about it, it's more of a marketing tool too. They're also advertising all the skins that are in the game. So hey, if you're a casual viewer or somebody that's tuning in for the first time, oh wow, this game's awesome, or oh my god, you could be a banana, that's hilarious, I love that, I want to play this game right now. Like just they're thinking on every level systematically, and it really comes all the way back to the player, the best players that are going to be able to stand tall in the game and actually represent the game on the highest competitive level.
Yeah, and definitely not just competitively, but also from the marketing standpoint, like you were alluding to, right? It's like esports has always kind of been a combination of the two, and it's something a lot of people don't like to acknowledge. But I mean, the whole reason esports generally exist is marketing. Obviously, MLG with Halo back in the early days here in North America, that kind of was true competitive spirit, I guess. But even MLG sustained itself largely through marketing dollars, right? And the sponsorships and all that sort of thing that they were able to do. So definitely rotating the skins, I think it's genius. I don't think League of Legends requires. I think they're allowed to pick any skin they want for League of Legends. So forcing people to use all the skins, so then that way every skin gets playtime and all the skins end up on camera at some point. And there's some tournament clips with it. I think that's a great idea, especially because there's such an insane amount of skins that are in Fortnite. Like, it's mind blowing. We're on the 8th season now of battle passes. There's been God knows how many limited time skins that they throw into the store for a couple days or a week or something, and then they take it out. That chicken tendy skin almost had me putting some extra money on. That was a ridiculous one. And the banana one is absolutely hilarious as well. There's a whole bunch of them that are just so good. So yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think it might be smart if they don't put any vaulted skins in the rotation, so make them skins that a player could, actively go on their PC or their Xbox or their PlayStation to buy that day when they see it. But obviously, some of the stuff survives on YouTube for a year or more. So at that point, it is kind of moot because the skin that was out at the time might not be anymore. But I think it's a genius idea, like you're saying. To really get all the skins some publicity. Unless you get Tomato Head, then, I guess you could just, I mean, hey, if you lose, then you at least have an easy excuse. Like, hey, I was a Tomato Head skin. Like,
all right, so true story. I delivered pizza for like 6 years of my life. And when they released that skin, I was like, all right, I'm going to buy it. Pizza delivery skin with the bag on the back. First 2 games I played with that skin, I got sniped in the head. First 2 games. And I switched off the skin. And now it's just a novelty thing. I'm like, I was thinking, should I use the refund system? But I was like, no, it's whatever. I'll keep it. I'll rock it. I'll rock my bad decision.
You just gotta throw it into your random rotation. Do you run I run a random rotation on my skins.
I've actually been doing that recently. I like it.
Yeah, I just pick all the ones that I really like that I have, and I just throw it on random, and then that way it always feels fresh. Like no matter every game feels different.
Until I get stuck with the skin with the green the green ponytails and the skirt and the lollipop.
Yeah, no, I took her off. She's not in my rotation. I have probably 80% of my skins I favorited. There's a couple that I really just don't like.
I'm only thinking just in terms of you that's the anti-camouflage right there. Like that's the one reason that I know for a fact that unless they're going to do it in the future, they have not released like the army men from Toy Story, like those, they have not released the skin like that because it will be a pay to win skin because the map is so green. You're bound to win most of your games if you have that skin on. So got to be careful with a lot of them.
Yeah, no, I think they've done a great, just to touch on that a little bit more, I think they've done a great job of being aware of that. And none of the skins that they've released, like you said, have been like, oh my God, you have to buy this skin, it's so OP where everybody wants to use it. Most of them have been very balanced, and they might be good in one camouflage in one area, like the marshmallow or like the snow guy, the guy with like the Stormwing pilot or whatever that are more white. They're kind of good in that snowy area of the map down by Polar Peak and stuff like that. But overall, I mean, it's not the majority of the map is not like that.
Starting to think of the colors of the biomes and the skins. You got me thinking. Now I'm going to start rocking my gold Wukong skin and go to Paradise Palms more. Maybe I'll blend in there a little bit. Maybe. So try to think about it that way. I don't know.
But you're definitely right. If they start releasing like army men skins, there'd be a slight problem just because of how much of the map.
I think that's the only one of the reasons they're withholding that.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree. But to just touch a little bit on the actual schedule for the World Cup. So every week from April 13th, there's going to be 10 of these. So from April 13th to June 16th. So starting about 1 month from now, a month and a week or so.
Get your games in, boys.
Yeah, get ready, guys, because you can win $1 million at home. And the top players, like the top 50 duos from around the world, are going to get invited out to the World Cup. And the minimum you can walk away with if you go to the World Cup is 50 grand. Again, let that sink in. You can make some people's full year salary in one weekend if you're one of the top duos in the world at this game. And it's fully qualified online. So there's no favoritism. There's none of that. I love it too. I think it's great. They're really saying,
people are about to be taking off days of work to get this in. Like, you better believe it.
Like with that much money on the line, you'd kind of be crazy not to. If you really think you've got the skill, you got to put your money where your mouth is, right? And show up, play the tournament.
People got to start. I don't know. Like, if you're living at home, you got to talk to your folks. Like, let them know. Like, between this time and this time, do not disturb me. Like, anything like that. Like, I can imagine players getting into it and top 10 situation. Like, Mom, shut up! I'm trying to win $1 million. Yes, I want pizza rolls. Like, yes, you're gonna have to make sure that everyone in your house that's the toughest part. Like, when you're on a land situation, when you're at an event, you're in that atmosphere. I could even say that's why a lot of people don't like working out at home, because there's too many distractions in your own home. They want to go to a different place. So try to compete and playing at your best in in your favorite spot in what you're used to, you're where you usually play, that could have pros and cons in certain
Yep.
ways. So I'm wondering how relaxed people are going to get. How much that's going to give people a different advantage. So I mean, we got what, 2 months of these games, so every week. So it's gonna be crazy, and I guarantee you're gonna start seeing a lot of new names really early on, especially in those first coming weeks.
Yeah, I definitely think so too. So just make sure, guys, tell your parents, like, hey, if you hear crazy screaming coming from my room, everything's okay. Don't knock on the door. Don't bother me. Trying to win some money here.
No
It's
joke.
intense. It's intense. I remember playing for a couple $100s at a LAN center and how hyped everybody would get. I can't imagine playing for $1 million. Like that would be.
I remember playing after midnight 2v2s for Gears of War in Jersey and trying to play for $75. Like I'm like, all right, that's like part of my gas tank and food for tomorrow. So that's awesome, like. But now, the opportunities are endless, and a lot of people they're waiting to get their piece of the pie.
Yeah, definitely. I really, really hope some of these people, we do get some new faces, like you were saying. But and then I guess the World Cup itself, there's going to be a little bit of a break. That will be July 26th, 28th in New York. They haven't announced the venue yet, but my gut is telling me it's going to be MSG. The way Epic has been doing things, the way people have been going so ham, I would not be surprised if we see it at Madison Square Garden.
That would be incredible. Although I can imagine that they might do it.
I'm wrong?
No, I would just think that yeah, I guess if it's in the summertime, that would open the door for that. Because I'm trying to think, they would do it someplace warm, probably. But if it's in the middle of the summer, then yeah, that could opens the door for pretty much any area. So
yeah, they said New York City. That's guaranteed. They just didn't give us the venue yet.
Oh, okay, all right. Well then, yeah. In that case,
my guess is MSG.
Did they say New York
I'm just
City?
throwing that out there. Yes, those are the 3 words. New York.
Isn't that like a guarantee then that it's going to be there?
I mean, maybe they could do it Times
Square. It's
going to be
at the Sbarro on 12th and Chestnut. Like,
yeah, it might be at the Barclays Center too. I'm pretty sure that's in New York, isn't it?
You know what? I think I want to say
the Nets play Brooklyn.
Brooklyn, yeah.
I don't know if Brooklyn gets called New York City. Man, I mean, I'm Canadian, so I'm way out of my league here, guys. Center,
I'm honestly, I could Wikipedia them right now and cheat, but I don't recall. I'm not sure exactly if Barclays Center seats more than Madison Square Garden. I know Madison Square Garden is the Mecca, but I obviously just from the name and where it's at, I don't know if it has actually more seats because Overwatch League, they were in Barclays Center for their championship, man, for season 1, and it was insane. Yeah. I don't know if you saw some of the crowd shots, man, but they filled out 30,000 people, and it was wild, man.
Oh, I know. It's crazy now that esports. I mean, when the LCS came to here in Toronto, I actually wanted to go. Yeah, for the North American finals. So I was like, okay, it comes out at a certain time. I'm going to buy tickets like that afternoon or something, right? I wasn't like super focused on it. They sold it out in 15 minutes. And you're just like, okay, I guess I was asleep. I should have been right at the minute tickets went up.
Yeah, to have your finger on F5 for sure.
Yeah, you had to be refreshed. I think that's going to be the case for this too. So guys, if you're in New York and you want to go to this event, when they announce tickets are going up, don't be me. Don't be that guy who's I'll do it.
I'm in Philly. I'm probably driving out there. I'm going for sure.
All right. I'm going to crash on your couch.
Let's go.
Cool.
It's a party. Yeah, the couch is busted, so I hope you don't mind.
That's all right. That's all right. As long I'll bring a pillow, I should be fine. So I think now we're going to get into we're going to take a look at some of the best clips that we found over the course of the week. And guys, this is where we really want your help in the future. If you see a clip online that you think should be one of the clip of the week, please send that to us on Twitter. Either to myself, to Throoper, Tyler. We're both called Throoper, so we're just going to be on a first name basis here. We're all friends, right? We can use first names.
That works for me, man.
But send it to either of us or to send it to the UGC Twitter, hashtag Tilted Talk. Nominate that for clip of the week, and we'll take a look at some of the best clips and throw it up. Me and Tyler will comment on them, but then also you guys can vote and let us know what you thought deserves to win. And maybe we'll have something cool for the winners, especially if they're, some smaller people in the stream. Like obviously if it's a Ninja, we're not gonna be like, hey Ninja, you won a $10 gift card or something. Like that's I mean, I think he would just laugh at us. But if it's a lesser known especially if it's a lesser known person actually that has a really nasty clip, send that to us so we can find it, because it's way easier to find the clips from the big streamers. I think the first clip we do have, though, speaking of other Tyler, Ninja, is a very cool clip from him on Lazy Lagoon, utilizing that new map. So he's up at the top here. Now, this is actually something really important. You have to put the balloon because you might want to land up here, but you can't do anything up here. If you try to jump down from here, you're going to die.
Oh,
so
yeah.
he's hitting some nice pistol shots. As always, very accurate. Now, you see this? There's actually a fight going on. He's so accurate. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, and especially being able to jump from console to PC and be that accurate. Oh! He straight yeeted him on that one.
Yeah, that guy had no idea where he was. And yeah,
dude, that's why I really don't like the balloons. They're so quiet, man.
Yeah, they're very, very quiet. But that was a really, really ridiculous clip. I mean,
you know,
like
that
you
post
said,
that master that he was standing on, I think that thing gives you like over 100 wood material if you actually knock that out when you land there. So that's, in case you guys didn't know that, I would do that next time. And it wouldn't have helped though killing him because he had a balloon on his back though, unfortunately. So
yeah. But yeah, that's definitely
well.
a good point. If you take out that mask, you get the person down. So that's huge. Because fall damage is real in Fortnite. It hurts. It hurts. Yeah. I hadn't played in a minute, and I hopped back in a little bit last week, and then again this week. In the first couple games, I was falling, and I was like, oh man, fall damage. Yikes. Yeah, this isn't fun.
Yeah, I mean they've definitely. I think actually, funny you mentioned that because they updated it, or in this update they changed the angle where you can start taking fall damage when you start sliding down different terrains and like up high on mountains. So I think they changed it from I think it was 10 degrees. They increased it, so you get a little bit more slack now when you try to slide down, which is cool. Because I don't know about you, but there's been times where you know for a fact like you're totally fine. You're not even gonna fall fast. You just slide down, and then your feet hit the ground. And then you lose like even like 5 HP. It's so frustrating. Like why 5? Like why or
yeah.
why
do
it's
that
even
to
less
me,
than
man?
5. Like what? Like I've actually taken like 2 HP for fall damage. I'm like what? Like
why?
Okay, screw me, I guess.
Like now I need to go eat an apple. Like God.
I can eat apples, man.
Yeah, well, you got to go find them. They're not all over the map. So I wish you could throw them in your bag. You should be able to keep some food on you, you know?
If you have the Red Riding Hood skin, I mean, you could probably throw them in a basket or something.
Yeah.
It's good, maybe. I don't know.
Come on, Epic.
That's
get it together.
Let's pay to win, though. Then you can't really. You might be able to time the flippin' sexy emote to do prone for half a second, but that's about the only pay to win I can think of.
All right. So the second clip, do we have one of these hoverboard snipes? Because there was a couple that I found that were absolutely disgusting, where these mans were using those hover snowboard type things to lethal effect. Look at this one. So he's just gonna jump around. He's getting shot at. He just doesn't really care though. He's he's clip hunting here.
Oh, 100%. Look at that.
He's no problem getting shot at. He doesn't mind. And goodbye. Oh, not this time. He's gonna take a little bit more damage.
The guy on the beach does not know what's about to happen. Oh my God.
Yeah. So that man just got wrecked.
That was incredible.
Yeah, let's rewatch this again because it's so hard to see this the first time. And boom. Like, are you kidding me? Who are these people?
So that was oh wow, he's on a controller doing that. That's crazy.
Yeah, he's on Xbox.
So I'm thinking, as much as that's amazing, but how long was he going to sit there and try that with that poor guy on the beach that did not build, just waiting there like, go look at that. I'll hit him eventually. Like, and then he gets sniped. Like, man, I hope he didn't look into replay mode just for his sake.
Yeah, I also hope he's not watching this or didn't see that on YouTube because he might be really upset. But kids, if somebody is using the hoverboard and just jumping around you like that, please build. Otherwise, you're going to wind up on YouTube. That's why they're jumping around you like that. They're hunting for that sniper rifle shot. And you don't want to be that guy. Trust me. It's not fun having yourself be the guy who's getting bodied in a clip. It's just, you can live without that experience. I promise you. I promise you.
Yeah, don't. Back in the day on old YouTube, like for Gears 1, there'd be people that would like snipe me in a game, and then they would be like, haha, I'm putting you on YouTube, and then they would like label the video, I sniped Trooper on canals, and then I'm like, what? Like, it's such a different world back then now, but people do the same thing now, like on their like, I just killed Ninja, oh my God, they're saying that immediately, and usually, even if you don't believe it, you're gonna within a few minutes, because then your chat just starts blowing up with love and hate.
Yeah. Well, I mean, here's the thing. No matter how good a player is, everybody's mortal, right? Like, just because you're Ninja, you don't have 7,000 health in Fortnite. If you hit a really nice headshot, you kill Ninja.
But
That's how it works.
now that you get 50 HP per kill, it
I love
definitely
that.
it definitely increases the longevity of, or well, it's going to make the best players even better. Their games are going to last longer. I guarantee you're going to see the solo squads record that's going to keep getting broken. As crazy as that sounds, because they're getting so high up there. What was it? Is it 46 kills? I don't remember.
Squads?
I know it just got beat this week. I don't remember the exact number, but I mean, there's going to be pretty soon people are going to be killing half the server, 3/4 of the server. Like
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know if that's even possible. You have to get so lucky, just with in terms of finding that many players. But hey, man, they have the tools now for the rotations, and with that added addition now, every kill, you don't have to worry about turtling up after every fight, healing up, and then you hear footsteps, and then oh great, like it's so much better. It's just it's gonna make the best players shine even more.
Yeah, I completely agree. And that is a really, really good change. I'm very happy they did that. Just makes it so much more, it makes it so worth getting into fights. I guess the last clip we're going to take a look at this week, do we have one of these cannonball clips? Do we have a man falling to their death? I have a feeling that the clip is going to be, the clip of the week will be one of the first two. But this is just for fun. I mean, there's been so many of these come out that people have just been trying to figure out, like, how far does this thing shoot you? Let's see. Huh.
Yeah, it's really deceptive, man. Like,
oh yeah, you go far.
You go really far and fast.
Yeah, like look at this.
Look at that. It's Mayday. Like you're trying to abort, trying to pull out your glider. Like it's not happening, man.
Yeah. And unfortunately, even if you're playing duos, your teammate can't save you there. So you've just you're gone at that point.
Yeah, that reminds me of like Super Mario 64, the cannons from that. Like that happens to me. The next lobby, I'm queuing up, I'm finding that pink bomb, and I'm giving him a stern talking to. Okay.
It almost reminds me of those like Donkey Kong.
The
classic Donkey Kong barrels where you'd hop in the barrel and it would just fire you out so far. That's
same type, yeah.
We might be dating ourselves here a little bit. We're talking about the most recent Donkey Kong, guys. Definitely not N64 version.
No. Why would I be talking about that? I'm going to be playing some of that, though, tonight on my stream, though, some N64.
Ooh.
Definitely.
I'm gonna have to tune into that. That sounds like a lot of fun.
I saw people actually running Fortnite on like different memes of like them running Fortnite, not on N64, but like different devices, like really low grade devices, like a TI-84 calculator, and like wonder if I can mod my N64 to run some Fortnite. I don't know.
Might be able to.
I would love to hear the music with the 64 polygons. That would actually be or 64 polygons within the system, and how it changes the actual audio. That would actually be pretty sick.
Yeah, 64-bit Fortnite would be very interesting, although the shot registration would probably make you rage very, very quickly.
I mean, it does already, so I mean, whatever, it's same old.
Hey man, I play on console, so I just use that auto zoom cheat, where not a cheat, but like the glitch kind of where if you just like you just spam the ADS and it kind of like locks onto the guy for you as long as you're close enough. So you play on a console, there you go, little trick for you. You can use that and be slightly less.
But auto aim doesn't do anything, PC players. Remember that.
Yes, if you're
auto
aim
on the is not helpful.
That is no good for you. But if you're like me, if you're a console pleb, then hey, maybe you can be slightly less pleb-like.
Yeah, I thought I was good with a controller, and then I tried playing on PC, and man, everyone's just so much quicker.
It's when you can do a 180 in a half a second and still be incredibly accurate with tiny movements, it's just you can't. It's a different world, man.
I shot him in the back, and like before the bullet got to him, he like turned and oh, cool. I can't wait to fight 60 more people like this.
Yeah, it's like some of these kids are so good. It's just it's demoralizing.
Hey, but they're the ones that are going to be ranking up in there in the World Cup, man. Those are going to be the best of the best. Just to add one more thought, like a lot of people have been wondering, like there's that big debate. Should they introduce a ranked mode in Fortnite? They're pretty much doing that to some extent with these different, how they had the pop-up cups. Now they have the gauntlet playlists and those types of tournaments. But I mean, I remember when the game was first catching, everyone's attention, and you had like the 3rd season, 4th season and stuff like that, like around like John Wick time. A lot of people were also thinking of the idea of like, oh, what if we had ranked playlists and, everything like that. And I remember at the time, at least from what I read, and I read a lot of stuff about it, people didn't like the idea at the time, because I remember the main argument being that the idea, the integrity of battle royale is that you never know what kind of opponent you're going to come against. It could be the worst bot on the server. It could be the best player that played just in one of the last skirmish series. Like it could be anybody, and that's the great thing about battle royale is the randomness of what kind of opponent you're going to play against. And now the game has changed so much, and players are so good that now it's being demanded for more than ever, I think, to try and separate the player base. But I could see why Epic has that intention to try and keep everybody, the casuals and the competitive players, at least in the same realm as close as they can, and not because a lot of games they've tried it, with different playlists, but you don't want to alienate your player base too much or separate them too much. It doesn't really work out in the long run. So I could see the best thing for them to do is have the LTMs, obviously, have those the pop-up cups and those extra playlists. Right now, I feel like the way that they're handling it is pretty okay for the most part, because you do need that spontaneity with battle royale. You need that randomness, because if anybody that's played those pop-up cups, I mean, if that's really what you want, if you're in like a 30-40 point server, I mean, good luck. You're not running into one mediocre player whatsoever. I mean, that's just how that works. But I mean, that's what some players want. So I mean, I think that's going to be the best bet, at least for the time being.
Yeah, no, I completely agree with you. I think that's the best way to go about it. And again, Epic's been very, very intelligent about this. But to get a little bit back on topic, because we've been going for about an hour now, what was your clip of the week? I haven't seen anything from chat saying what their clip of the week was. Personally, my vote's for number 2.
Yeah, 100%. You got to go with the skill on that one. I mean, the third that one with the cannon shot was great. I did see it a few times. Haven't seen somebody sniping, backflipping like this on one of these hoverboards that fast and on a controllers as well. If this was on PC, I would have said, yeah, okay, but it also might make a little bit more sense now why that guy didn't build it. It's on Xbox, and you have maybe somebody that maybe one of their first times. You can see he was rocking that pirate skin, so he did earn that free battle pass, or he could have just bought it. But either way, I mean, get your 15 minutes of fame somehow, whether you're on the receiving end of the snipe or which way. But I guess it works out.
Definitely better to be dishing it out. And congratulations. I wish we had the player name for that, because that person just beat Ninja for our first ever clip of the week. So congratulations to him.
Awesome.
We will try and figure out who that was and give them the appropriate credit, because that was an amazing clip. And definitely the fact that they're a console player is super awesome. So now we're going to wrap it up. We're going to head into that Q&A session that I mentioned at the very beginning of the stream that we would be having. We got a couple questions on Twitter. So now, chat, if you had anything that you want to ask us, anything that you want us to talk about a little bit to wrap this show up over the last, we're going to try and come to a close here about 13 minutes, around 9:30 Eastern. So the first question, let's see if we can pull that up on stream. We had a couple tweeted at us. Cody Luongo, do you think Fortnite is truly fit to be an esport? Thoughts?
Definitely a question that everyone's been asking, I think, when it comes to where this game lies in terms of the whole aspect and the whole realm of the esports industry. You have Fortnite coming out of nowhere, seemingly, with one of the top prize pools now in esports, and they're climbing up there in terms of overall payouts now, and I think they're in 5th now in terms of games overall payouts in history for esports, and they're just going to keep climbing, obviously, especially with how new they are. So, I mean, as far as the legitimacy with how Fortnite fits into with every other game in esports, you can't just say, just because the prize pools are big, or just because they do have a lot of money, you can't just say that brings the legitimacy to them. But the way the way that the game has been taken over by all these people that have played it, as many eyes that have been brought to the game, and how mainstream that it hit, they were able to capitalize and now bring, I think, the esports scene out and try to introduce the World Cup later this year at a really perfect time. It's pretty much capping off to where most of the players that are playing Fortnite, at least from what they've heard to try it, those players have pretty much, most likely have moved on to other games. But now Fortnite, I believe now they do have that player retention at this point, especially with how often now at the new season and with the Fortnite World Cup coming up, they're going to have a lot more players now that are really invested in the game. And that's really what you want in an esports player
Yeah.
base. You know, you have all these players that are looking really, you know, into how much they can try and change up their game, you know, and like we were saying earlier, watching VODs and trying to study the best players. Like that's really what it comes down to for an esport. You want a game that obviously everybody can compete against, you know, at the top level, but showing that there are players that can have, you know, that play at that top level and have that consistency where they do win multiple times. That goes to show you, like, yeah, it's not just all about RNG. It's a humongous aspect of it, obviously, but your technicality, your skill can all, you can really get yourself out of most situations as a Fortnite player. And I think the technicality and all the things that you have to do, especially like if you're playing Fortnite on PC, you would even know like there are so many ways that you can do things, and especially a lot faster sometimes than controller players because it's instant keybinds. Like there's a lot of thought and so many complex things that you could do in terms of fighting other players, and especially with the build mechanics. And I think that's why Fortnite always is going to have the leg up over most BRs in the esports space, because they have such an innovative way to play with the building. And that's what I think everyone fell in love with it to begin with, because everyone's like, oh, well, Fortnite wasn't the first battle royale, and no one's saying that it is. And no, it's just the first one that got that big that fast, especially. And I think that the building aspect had a big thing to do with that. And because of how innovative, how unique that it is, I expect Fortnite to it's left its mark in the esports space thus far, and it's going to continue. And obviously, there's the game has so many players on it, and they're obviously trying to figure out so many things on the competitive side. And like I said earlier, by the time the Fortnite World Cup comes along, they're going to have a solid system. Everything's going to be pretty much perfected as their competitive vision is. And they've carved out a really nice niche for them in esports, and they're here to stay for sure. They've definitely proved that, and I'm thrilled to see what goes on in the Fortnite World Cup and beyond that, especially.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree. Especially, I think you hit the nail on the head when you were talking about the amount of committed players and the big player base, because really what esports is supposed to be about is figuring out who's the best at a game a lot of people love to play. And it is absolutely obvious that a lot of people love to play Fortnite. So as long as that remains true, which, you just pointed out a bunch of reasons why I think that's going to be true for the foreseeable future, it's an esport. It as long as people are doing something, it's human nature to know who is the best. Who's the best at this? Who's the top dog? How do I get better? How do I improve what I'm doing? These are just very human questions, and essentially esports kind of addresses that within a video game. So as long as Fortnite is as popular as it is, as long as there's this many people playing the game, and again, I don't see that going away anytime soon, it is an esport. And I think you also were talking about the building, which brings up our second question that Twitter had for us. Let's pull that up right now. From Snack Time, V-Ray Snack. Do you think Fortnite without building could ever work? My answer to that personally is essentially, if you have Fortnite without building, you're taking away Fortnite the one thing that really made a battle royale, made it a unique battle royale. There's so many other ways that games have tried to kind of touch on the battle royale space. You have Apex and Realm Royale that kind of have classes, and then you have the more very realistic military style ones with PUBG and COD Blackout and the CSGO one. But Fortnite's this really interesting place where it's very cartoony. It's very kid friendly because of that. Like the violence is nowhere near as severe as you might see in some of these other games. And then also the building aspect just adds such an incredible layer of depth and complexity, like you were mentioning, that you really can figure out a whole bunch of ways to do things that you could not possibly do without building. And sometimes I will admit it is annoying when you see somebody, you think you're going to kill them, and they manage to build the Taj Mahal or the Great Pyramids of Giza, and you're just like, well, this is frustrating.
Well, it would make the game a lot more difficult to travel without building, because I think the game, obviously they made the game in mind with being able to use that to get over, different places. With my thought though, coming into that, you obviously now have creative mode. So people have been able to play certain game types. Like they've made arena mode, like death matches I've seen that, with building turned off, different things like that. But the main game, as far as it goes, no, I don't think Fortnite could work without building ever. And the reason I think that, besides trying to travel over the map and how much more difficult that would be, and how now the map would, instead of being wide open all over, you would now have everything separated into choke points, really specific areas, which I think Apex is now set up like. A lot of people kind of If one of the criticisms I saw that actually Apex got was that while the map size does feel big, it also is just a lot of areas that are also just funneled into smaller choke points. So you do end up feeling like you have a lot of the same fights in the same areas. And that's kind of true because a lot of the top clips I've seen from Apex do tend to be in a lot of the same areas. But for Fortnite, it wouldn't work without building because it would greatly decrease the areas that you could travel in the game. And also my main reason that it wouldn't work is because Bloom exists in Fortnite. You couldn't take building out of the game because there isn't a systematic way that the recoil for the guns work. It's like, say on Counter-Strike, how there's a pattern for every weapon that you can, you can study, like how the AK goes up, left, and right, like in a T, essentially every time, and there's always a first shot accuracy, and as it generally should be with most games, with shooters. But with Bloom and Fortnite, after their shooting test that they ran back, season 3, I want to say, all the way back then, they've obviously, I don't think that they have any plans for another shooting test. So I think they've obviously, they like where the game's at now in terms of that aspect, and adding the building into that's where that extra layer comes. Like, yeah, it has Bloom, but that really does affect the players that don't know how to, that haven't mastered the game properly. Because one of the biggest tips that I could also share that has just helped me is that there are a lot of times where I'll get through a game, I might have 5 to 10 kills, and I've won a lot of my engagements. But then once I get into like the top 10, you'll lose a fight because you might have a little bit of an ego. It's that ego that's building up to you, where you'll start shooting at somebody and you'll miss your first 3 or 4 AR shots. At that point, retreat and duck back to cover, or your ramp or wherever you're at. And just don't keep shooting. Like, I've fallen into that trap so many times where I'm like, I'll hit him eventually, and then when he fires back, he lasers you. That's the problem. So you have to remember, just remember, all right, I didn't get him that time. Try to get a better shot next time, because that's where the Bloom works into that thing, and that's how the building aspect comes in. If you guys were just running around on foot, I don't think it would work as well, But now that's where the game can prove like where the skill lies, is where if you can utilize the building properly, then that Bloom really won't mean that much of a difference.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. Because Bloom shooting is very inconsistent, and I actually had that, what you were just talking about, happened to me today. Somebody tried to shoot at me, they missed everything, I just turned around and lasered him because he was just fully like missing everywhere.
You feel like
I felt so good. Oh yeah, dude, you have no idea.
You got a gray AR and you get a gold scar. You're like, oh my god, this is amazing. Thank you.
Yeah,
you don't need this anymore.
But to wrap this up, we had one question from chat from Paekman. I really hope I'm saying that right. Paekman. So he was basically saying that for him, the pop-up solution, thank you so much for watching. We really appreciate it, and thanks for interacting and giving us a question for us to salute to you, sir. Keeping with the army theme here. But
I didn't plan that, I swear.
He was basically saying that because of the skill differential and how good some of these best players are now. I mean, when you think about it, when Fortnite first started, like we were talking about at the beginning of the episode, people were building gigantic forts and they weren't building 1x1s at all. Now everybody seems to be able to build super quickly, super well, super efficiently. They understand how the Bloom works on guns. They know how to shoot. And people who are newer might have a very hard time getting into the game. Mm-hmm. What I'm thinking to address concerns from players like him is maybe if you don't have, until you get X number of wins, or if you don't have X number of wins, there is a certain cup or a certain game that you can play that allows you to play against other players who also have never achieved like 10 wins or 15 wins in solo or something. You know what I mean? And then that way you can kind of build your confidence, learn how to play against other newer players.
But I can't imagine the smurfing that would go on in a playlist like that, though, with people making new accounts and then just trying to destroy.
Yeah.
Oh man,
that would be bad. They would need to figure out a way to prevent smurfs, I guess. But I mean,
the best way, with Playground now, like I would just go in and honestly, I would just mess around and try just practice building like as much as you can. That's the best way to do it, because if you're a new player now, it's harder, obviously, because so many players started playing the game when it first came out, so they've been able to grow with the game, and they everything is now second nature to them. So it's going to be so hard to start from the ground up, but now they have the tools that they give you the tools now that you can actually get better without having to just, grind and try and just queue up and get smacked basically. Because that's what it was before Playground. You just had to get better playing the
Yeah.
regular game. So
Yeah.
that's where it was pressure, man.
It was, but do you know why I used to drop in Wailing Woods? Honestly, little secret. I used to drop there because there would be nobody there. I could land, mine a whole bunch of wood, and just build 1x1s to infinity.
Oh, you must have hated that when they said open 7 chests in Wailing Woods on those one weekly challenge.
Oh, that was not. I mean, by that point I was okay, but in the first like 2 or 3 seasons, I would go there like at least once or twice a week and just. I didn't even care. Like, I would literally just die to the storm some games. It wasn't even about winning the game. It was just, I'm going to just build because there was no playground, right? But now, like you said, there's a sandbox mode. You can actually practice. And guys, that's something that a lot of people don't really take into account with video games. But playing the game is fun, but no one's ever made it to the NBA without going to basketball practice. Let that sink in a little bit. Sometimes you got to do some drills. Practice. You talk about practice out here. I know. What would AI say?
Gotta love AI. Yeah.
What would he say?
He's the answer, man.
He is. But guys, we really appreciate it if you've been in here with us the whole time. We have a Discord link that UGC is just dropping into the chat now. We'd love if you guys came hang out in there with us. Send us your questions. Send us clips for clips of the week. Send them to us on Twitter as well. You should follow both myself and Throoper here. We have the same thing, essentially, same name, but mine has the H. So yes. That's how you know the difference. He's taller. I have an H in my name. That should pretty much give it to you. Tyler, anything you want to wrap up, say before we close the sucker down?
I'm just happy to be here. First episode in the wraps or in the books, and I'm just glad that we were able to dish out a lot of the stuff that happened this week. And there's so much that happens in Fortnite so consistently, like every single week, every day. I mean, even by tomorrow morning, there's going to be something that's probably going to happen that I'm going to be like, oh man, I wish we were able to talk about that. But yeah, that's the great stuff. There's always going to be something great to talk about. So I'm glad everybody tuned in. I love you guys, and I hope you guys tune in again next week, where we'll be here again, 8 p.m. Eastern time, same spot. It's going to be good, man.
Yeah, exactly. And we might have a guest with us too. We're going to try and bring guests on so we'll be able to interview some either players, casters, even fans. So if you really want to come in, if you think you know Fortnite and you want to talk to us and really kind of get into this discussion, then hit us up on Twitter, hit us with that follow, hit UGC with the follow, hit the follow on this Twitch channel if you haven't done that already. Shame on you if you haven't. Shame. I need that meme from Game of Thrones. but we hope you guys had fun. I hope you guys had fun. We definitely did. And we will see you guys next week, 8 p.m. Eastern. Thank you so much. We love you. Take care. Bye-bye.